Page Tunes read. From the pages of Page Tunes Magazine Monthly, Number 1, January 2024. Story and artwork by Michael Zeigerlig. Jack and the Cosmic Beanstalk. Jack and his mother resided in a world shrouded in unending poverty, their modest cottage nestled beneath ancient trees that whispered secrets no sane soul dared to decipher. Each day brought deeper despair as they struggled to find sustenance in a land gripped by hardship. On this particularly gloomy evening, the two gathered around a meager dinner, their spirits as low as their half-empty plates. Jack, a young lad with eyes filled with the glimmer of hope that had yet to be extinguished, gazed at his mother. Her lined face and weary eyes bore the weight of their dire circumstances. "Mother," he began, his voice quivering with determination, "we cannot go on like this. Our cow is all we have left, and she is frail and hardly produces any milk. I must do something to change our fate." His mother's eyes met his, a mixture of sadness and concern reflected in her gaze. "What can you do, my dear Jack? We have tried everything, and it feels as though the world itself has turned its back on us." Jack nodded, his gaze downcast. He excused himself from the dinner table, leaving behind his mother's questioning eyes, and ventured into the dusky woods surrounding their home. As he roamed the eerie forest, Jack pondered their predicament. He knew he had to take drastic action, for their family's future hung by a thread. It was in the heart of the shadowed woods that he encountered the ominous figure. A sudden rustling of leaves and the faint whisper of unsettling words that seemed to emerge from nowhere alerted Jack to the presence of the stranger. He turned to find a yellow-cloaked figure standing amid the trees, the air around them pulsating with an otherworldly aura. The stranger's voice spoke to Jack of wealth, power, and transformation. He introduced himself as the King in Yellow. In his hand, he held a handful of beans that radiated a sinister, eldritch energy. Jack's heart raced, torn between the pull of the supernatural and the sense of foreboding that gripped his very soul. As the transaction took place in that eerie, moonlit clearing, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that he had traded more than just a cow. The stranger disappeared into the night, leaving behind an oppressive stillness and the unsettling beans. Jack's mind raced with questions, his heart heavy with the weight of his decision. He pocketed the beans and made his way back home. Jack returned home, the ominous beans clutched tightly in his hand. His mother's eyes bore into him, her voice filled with disappointment and anger. "Jack, you foolish boy! You've traded our only cow, the last hope we had, for just a handful of beans. What were you thinking?" His shoulders sagged under the weight of her words, and he knew that her reprimands were justified. The reality of his impulsive decision was crushing, and he felt a deep sense of disillusionment. As he retreated to their small garden, the ominous beans still in his grasp, he couldn't help but wonder if he had fallen prey to some cruel trick. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow upon the garden. Jack's fingers trembled as he dug a small hole in the earth and carefully planted the sinister beans. It was a strange and unsettling ritual, as if he were sowing the seeds of his own fate. The earth seemed to writhe beneath his fingers, and the beans sank into the soil with an unnatural, pulsating energy that sent shivers down his spine. With a heavy heart, he retired to his room, but unease gnawed at his thoughts. The unsettling whispers of the beans seemed to echo in his mind, like voices from distant alien realms. He couldn't escape the feeling that he had invited something otherworldly and unknowable into their lives. Lying in bed, he gazed out the window into the moonlit night. The garden seemed different, bathed in an eldritch glow that played tricks on his eyes. The shadows danced in strange, unsettling patterns. As he closed his eyes, the visions returned, unbidden. He found himself in landscapes that defied reason, under skies filled with constellations unknown to mankind. Entities of incomprehensible form and malevolence lurked in the periphery of his dreams. They whispered secrets of the cosmos, knowledge too vast for the human mind to grasp. Jack's sleep was fitful and filled with night terrors, and he awoke in a cold sweat, his heart pounding. As the first light of dawn broke, an unsettling sense gripped him, hinting that something profound and ominous was growing beyond the veil of his understanding, and it filled him with a sense of dread that he couldn't explain. Jack's restless sleep was abruptly shattered by a piercing scream, his mother's voice carrying a note of pure shock and terror. He jolted awake, his heart racing, and stumbled out of his bed. His eyes, still heavy with sleep, searched for the source of her distress. As he made his way to the window, he was met with a sight that defied all reason and sanity. Where the night sky should have been, there was only an expanse of vibrant, surreal greenery. The room was bathed in an eerie emerald light, and the window revealed a world that was not their own. Fear and confusion coursed through Jack as he rushed outside. The garden that had been so familiar now felt like a foreign, otherworldly realm. His footsteps were muffled by the thick, spongy ground beneath his feet. The air was thick with an otherworldly, earthy scent, and the very atmosphere seemed charged with eldritch energy. He ventured further into the garden, a sense of dread gnawing at him. As he rounded a bend, his eyes widened in shock, and his heart pounded in his chest. Before him, rising impossibly high into the heavens, was a colossal beanstalk. It towered far beyond the reaches of the natural world, its massive leaves shimmering with an otherworldly iridescence. It was as if he had been transported to a realm of cosmic, surreal proportions. The beanstalk's sheer size was beyond human comprehension, a twisting, coiling monstrosity that defied the laws of nature. It seemed to stretch endlessly into the heavens, disappearing into the ethereal mist above. The realization struck Jack like a bolt of lightning. This towering, colossal entity was the result of his impulsive planting of the eldritch beans. The cosmic horror of it all left him awestruck and petrified, the weight of his actions pressing upon his shoulders. Jack and his mother stood before the colossal beanstalk, its twisted form reaching incomprehensible heights. The garden, now an alien landscape, seemed to pulse with eldritch energy, casting an eerie light over their dilemma. His mother, her eyes filled with determination, spoke of the practicality of their situation. "Jack, we can't afford to ignore this miraculous growth. These beans are a gift we could use to make a living. We could harvest them, sell them at the market, and ensure a better life for ourselves." But Jack, plagued by dreams and visions that whispered to him in the dark hours of the night, knew that there was more to the beanstalk than met the eye. The visions left him with an inexplicable yearning, a cosmic pull that seemed to originate from the heart of the towering entity. He kept his nocturnal experiences a closely guarded secret, fearing that they might be the product of his overwrought imagination. Yet with each passing night, the dreams grew more vivid, and the urge to uncover the beanstalk's secrets became irresistible. To avoid the inevitable harvesting that his mother planned, Jack resorted to a desperate ploy. He feigned illness, hoping to delay the beanstalk's exploitation. His mother, torn between her desire for prosperity and her concern for her son, watched over him with a heavy heart. Days turned into weeks, and Jack's health seemed to deteriorate even further. His mother, unable to bear the sight of her son's suffering, made a difficult decision. She resolved to climb the beanstalk herself and harvest the beans. Armed with an axe, she approached the colossal entity that had taken root in their lives. She struck a blow, severing a cluster of beans from the towering stalk. In that moment, as the axe met the flesh of the beanstalk, Jack experienced a searing pain that coursed through his very being. It was as if he and the beanstalk were connected in some unfathomable way. Agony washed over him, and he fell to the ground, writhing in pain. The beanstalk quivered and shuddered, as if it, too, felt the pain of the assault. It was a cosmic connection that Jack had not anticipated, a bond that transcended the boundaries of the natural world. As his mother continued to harvest the beans, Jack's visions and dreams grew more intense, and the cosmic pull became an all-encompassing force. He knew that the mysteries of the beanstalk held the key to his strange yearning and the unearthly pain that now consumed him. Night after night, Jack had been plagued by visions of himself ascending the colossal beanstalk, of secrets and revelations that lay at its pinnacle. Each vision was accompanied by a searing, otherworldly pain that emanated from the heart of the beanstalk, a pain that only intensified as his mother harvested its beans. Unable to bear the torment any longer, and driven by an inexplicable yearning, Jack knew that he had to take drastic action. The cosmic pull of the beanstalk was too strong, and its mysteries were calling to him with an irresistible force. In the dead of night, with his mother asleep in her room, Jack made his move. He approached her with a heavy heart, knowing the enormity of what he was about to do. His mind was filled with a strange, anticipatory joy, as if he were on the cusp of a revelation. With a swift and calculated strike, Jack incapacitated his mother, leaving her unconscious and vulnerable. He carried her frail form down to the cellar of their house, an eerie place filled with shadows and echoes. There, he imprisoned her, sealing the door and leaving behind enough food and water to sustain her for a week. As he ascended the stairs, his heart heavy with guilt and trepidation, he couldn't shake the sense that he had become a pawn in a cosmic game, one in which the rules were far beyond his comprehension. With a strange, determined resolve, Jack prepared for his ascent of the beanstalk. He packed supplies of food and water, shouldering a backpack filled with provisions. In the pre-dawn hours, he stood before the towering beanstalk, its presence looming over him. The unearthly glow that bathed the garden was his guiding light, a beacon that called to him from the heavens. With a deep breath, Jack began his climb. The beanstalk quivered and pulsed beneath his touch, and he felt the strange, searing pain in his body intensify. Yet, he pushed onward, driven by a force he could not comprehend. Higher and higher he ascended into a realm that defied all reason and natural law. The familiar world below disappeared, replaced by a surreal, otherworldly vista. The whispers of the cosmos filled his ears, and the visions became more vivid, pulling him deeper into the cosmic mysteries. Jack was on a journey into the unknown. The revelations that awaited him at the top of the beanstalk were both exhilarating and terrifying, and he was determined to uncover their secrets no matter the cost. Jack's ascent of the colossal beanstalk was a grueling journey that stretched on for days. During the arduous climb, he would rest during the nights, finding shelter within the thickness of the beanstalk's growth. The eerie, bioluminescent glow of the beanstalk's leaves provided an otherworldly illumination, casting strange, shifting shadows in hues of unearthly colors he had never seen before. As he slept in the midst of the towering entity, Jack's dreams and visions persisted. He was tormented by surreal landscapes and incomprehensible entities. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Jack reached the end of the beanstalk. He emerged into an alien world that defied all laws of nature. Non-Euclidean architecture dominated the landscape with monolithic structures that loomed impossibly large. These buildings were like grotesque totems of an entity beyond human understanding. Their surfaces were adorned with strange growths, bulbous protrusions, and bizarre appendages, giving them an otherworldly, almost organic appearance. As he began to walk towards the towering structures, it dawned on Jack that these buildings were not meant for human habitation. They were vast, absurdly enormous, their sheer scale eclipsing anything he had ever encountered. Enigmatic hieroglyphs and symbols adorned their surfaces, forming intricate patterns that seemed to shift and undulate. These symbols seemed to whisper ancient secrets, yet their meaning remained elusive. As he drew nearer to the buildings, Jack noticed that the hieroglyphs and symbols were not confined to a single structure. They covered the entire complex of buildings, creating an intricate web of esoteric knowledge that sprawled across the alien landscape. Each symbol appeared to be a piece of a cosmic puzzle, a puzzle that defied all human comprehension. Suddenly, the very vegetation came to life, and the plants lunged at him with sharp teeth, attempting to catch and consume him. It was a nightmarish assault, as if the very environment sought to devour him. Vines with thorny tendrils reached out, and carnivorous flowers snapped hungrily. Jack ran for his life, his heart pounding with terror. He narrowly escaped the ravenous flora, but the pursuit had only intensified his sense of disorientation and dread. He needed shelter, a refuge from this nightmarish world. In the distance, Jack spotted a structure that seemed different from the rest. It stood at the center of the bizarre architectural arrangement, its form more complex and intriguing. He rushed towards it, seeking solace and protection. The entrance of the building was an eerie portal, a threshold to the unknown. Jack stepped inside, and the walls seemed to pulse with a strange rhythmic energy. Inside the peculiar building, he hoped to find answers to the enigmatic world he had stumbled into. Jack continued to explore the intricate building at the top of the beanstalk, his footsteps echoing through the eerie, pulsating architecture. The walls seemed to writhe with strange, ever-changing hieroglyphs that whispered ancient secrets into the air. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was unraveling a cosmic enigma, one piece at a time. As he delved further into the structure, he stepped into an expansive hall illuminated by an iridescent, otherworldly hue of yellow, distinct from the completely unknown colors that saturated the realm. It was as if he had stepped into a kaleidoscope of alien beauty and terror. The walls of the hall appeared to shift and flow, defying all known laws of geometry. The walls of the hall appeared to shift and flow, defying all known laws of geometry. In the center of the hall, Jack's eyes were drawn to a small creature standing there like a sentinel. The closest Jack had seen to the shape of this being was a goose, but it was no ordinary bird. Its beak was pointed and sharp, and its eyes held an iridescent glow, shimmering in the same unnatural color spectrum that filled the air and adorned the bizarre flora and fauna of this strange place. The feathers of the creature seemed almost like metal, shining in the same iridescent yellow hue that enveloped the room. It was both beautiful and horrifying, a paradox of existence. To the right of the creature stood a harp, covered in the same iridescent yellow, its strings seemingly made of the same ethereal material as the room's hieroglyphs. As Jack cautiously approached, the goose-like creature quacked happily and ran toward him, surprising Jack and leaving him a bit in shock. The strange creature nuzzled his hand, and Jack's apprehension began to give way to a sense of awe and wonder. He hesitantly reached down and began to pet the creature, which seemed to delight in the attention. However, the tranquil moment was shattered by a sudden, rumbling sound that echoed through the hall, accompanied by a loud, guttural grumbling. It was as if someone or something was descending the stairs leading into the hall, the footsteps echoing with an ominous weight. Jack's heart raced as he gazed toward the entrance, filled with a mixture of curiosity and fear. The encounter with the peculiar creature and the enigmatic harp had only deepened the mysteries of this cosmic realm, and he couldn't predict what new revelations or terrors awaited him in this surreal place. As the ominous sounds drew nearer, the goose-like creature quacked in fear, its feathers ruffling as it hastily retreated to the side of the iridescent harp. The colossal, ominous steps grew louder, and the hall seemed to vibrate with the approaching presence. The goose-like creature quivered, and its eyes blinked in rapid succession. Jack knew he had to hide and find a place of safety within the vast hall. Quickly, he spotted a smaller catacomb within the hall, its entrance concealed by the shifting, ever-changing architecture. With a sense of urgency, Jack slipped inside the catacomb, his breath held in trepidation. The catacomb provided just enough cover to shield him from the view of the approaching entity. The monstrous being entered the hall, towering at a height of about 20 feet. Its humanoid form was marred by skin that resembled root-like tendrils, flabby and of a strange violet hue. There were several eyes on all its extremities, blinking and searching the hall with an otherworldly curiosity. Jack watched in terror from the shadows as the monstrous entity moved with an unsettling grace, its numerous eyes scanning the room. It seemed to be inspecting the goose-like creature and the harp as if they held some significance in the cosmic tapestry of this surreal realm. Jack was uncertain about their significance, but he was confident that they held considerable value. Time seemed to slow as the monstrous being continued its investigation, the echoes of its footsteps reverberating through the hall. Jack remained hidden, his fear gnawing at him as he waited for the entity to pass. Eventually, the footsteps receded, growing fainter and fainter until they faded entirely. It was the moment Jack had been waiting for, and he knew he had to act quickly. With a surge of determination, he emerged from his hiding place, snatched up the harp and the goose-like creature, which now quacked with a sense of joyful relief, and ran as fast as his legs could carry him toward the exit of the building. The enigmatic architecture seemed to shift and writhe in response to his escape, and the hall itself appeared to protest his departure. Jack's heart raced as he fled the hall. The surreal mysteries of this cosmic realm were closing in around him, and the path ahead remained shrouded in uncertainty and danger. With the harp clutched tightly in one hand and the goose-like creature held protectively in the other, Jack ran for his life. His heart raced as he charged through the ever-shifting architecture, reaching the exit of the building at the top of the beanstalk. He burst out into the alien landscape beyond, with the surreal and flesh-eating flora and fauna snapping hungrily at his heels. The relentless pursuit of the monstrous giant, driven by the echoes of Jack's footsteps, was not far behind. The colossal being, its skin like root-like tendrils and multiple eyes scanning the surroundings, closed the distance between them with every thunderous step. Jack's breath came in ragged gasps as he sprinted toward the towering beanstalk that led to the world below. The elongated shadows cast by the iridescent light played tricks on his mind, creating an ever-present sense of disorientation. Just as he reached the towering beanstalk, a cold, clammy sensation brushed against his back. He felt the grotesque touch of the giant's fingers on his clothing, missing him by mere inches. Fear surged through him, and he knew he had to act quickly. In a desperate move, Jack sharply turned left at the edge, resulting in the giant stumbling over the precipice. The monstrous entity tumbled into the abyss below, its massive form vanishing from sight. As it fell, the giant's hand, still clawing for a hold, struck the beanstalk. The impact was devastating. The colossal beanstalk began to splinter and fracture. The entire structure, Jack's only lifeline to the world below, crumbled beneath the combined weight of the giant and the cataclysmic forces at play. Jack watched in horrified awe as the once mighty beanstalk disintegrated, both the giant and the plant plummeting toward the earth. The landscape seemed to ripple and distort, as if the very fabric of reality was being torn asunder. In a bittersweet moment of realization, it became evident that the cosmic giant, once a source of peril, no longer posed a threat. However, Jack also lost the pathway leading to his home. Time had become an enigmatic construct in this surreal realm. It may have been months, years, or perhaps eons since Jack's journey into the cosmic unknown. The boundaries of time and space had blurred, and the passage of moments had become as incomprehensible as the secrets of the realm. Now Jack knew. He understood the weight of his role in the intricate balance of the universe. There must always be someone or something to guard the harp in iridescent yellow and the goose-like creature with feathers that shimmered in the same ethereal hue. The equilibrium of existence itself hinged upon it. With a sense of melancholy that seemed to transcend time, Jack pondered this cosmic duty as he descended the seemingly endless staircase. His once frail form had grown larger, his steps echoing with a regal resonance. His enormous iridescent violet hand gently reached down to touch the small head of the goose in yellow, a gesture of comfort and companionship. The goose-like creature, once a source of puzzlement and fear, now served as a steadfast companion, and the harp, an object of cosmic power and beauty, was a reminder of the enigmatic realms he had traversed. Jack's own reflection had been altered by the cosmic forces at play, and he now stood as a guardian of the balance. If you've been captivated by the magic of this audiobook, here's how you can immerse yourself even further and support the creation of more enthralling tales for your enjoyment. Unlock the ultimate listening journey with a yearly subscription on pagetunes.com. No interruptions, ad-free, and exclusive access to the full library of audiobooks and ebooks. Download and enjoy captivating stories offline, anytime, anywhere. Whether through subscription or individual purchases, you play a vital role in bringing more enchanting stories to life. Explore the merch store. From cozy hoodies to stylish mugs and much more, every purchase directly contributes to crafting more thrilling tales for your pleasure. Thank you and happy listening.